Hi guys, how are you?
Doing really good. Doing good.
Good. Good. Well, I'm excited for today, so I want to get straight to our guest because it's somebody I've known since we were very young. She's beautiful, of course, talented as beyond, but like what I really, really admire about her is just like the set of balls and like how powerful and strong she is. And she's just such a great leader for females like that. So I, with great pleasure, introduce longtime friend Alyssa Milano.
Hi. Nice to meet you, Dave.
Very nice to meet you.
I mean, I was trying to think. It's funny because right before I jumped on with you, I was doing an interview for Emmy Magazine. They're doing a Who's the Boss timeline. And so like things that I hadn't thought about for a really long time, I just spent the last half hour thinking about. And now to be here with you it's just full circle. But yeah, she was like, so you and Tony have known each other. And I was like, 41 years. And so, I mean, we've got to be close to that.
I know.
Right? Like we've got like, how were you season
we
one?
Were probably, I think you're a bit younger than I am.
But you were season one, right? Because then you had your own show. So I feel like
I was like I was 12, 13. I was around there. So you must have been just like 11, 10,
yeah,
11,
so that was season
like
one.
That.
So that was 40 years ago.
I mean,
wow.
You're like my only high school friend.
You moved out here from the East Coast really young, right?
Yes.
Like not knowing anybody.
We didn't know anybody. And I remember one of my happiest childhood pre-adolescent times was we all went to your house for a sleepover.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Yes, because
and then we went to the beach. We went to the beach the next day.
Yeah,
and I think it was my first real sleepover.
I love that. I remember that. It was like the whole gang.
It was everybody. It was all of the friends. So it was all of them. Yeah. Do you talk to anyone else? I talked to Shauna.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Not really. I mean, I kind of am in touch with some of the girls online. Angela and I seem to, because I also knew Angela before Who's the Boss too, randomly. So we do stay in touch. But yeah, remember sleepovers were such a big thing in Huntington Beach. And I was like, do you guys want to have a sleepover? And you guys were all like, well, what? Do what? Yeah.
And then we went to the beach the next day. And I remember thinking, wow, because I was from Brooklyn. I was from Brooklyn. Like our beach was like a fire hydrant. So I remember being like, wow, let's go to the beach. That'll be so fun. And I mean, that was a time too when like parents just dropped you off places and didn't pick you up for like days.
I know. I think about that. And I'm like, and I think about my kids and I'm like, what in the hell? But I guess I have to give it to them that it was a different time.
For sure.
Maybe, right?
For sure.
Maybe we were more trustworthy. There weren't all the same distractions. But I mean, yeah, I remember walking around and going to people's houses and going to those Alfie soda pop parties and like
I know, and they just drop us off and pick us up at like midnight. We were like 12, Dave. Like, okay, have fun. Like they didn't know what we were doing or not like doing.
In Hollywood, at a Hollywood party with like other adults there, and they'd be like, have fun. See you later.
I mean, we were pretty lucky, but I would never, ever, like my daughter, there's no way. Like, I don't even like, I can't even imagine that kind of parenting now.
No. I can't.
And I'm not even like a crazy helicopter parent. I have friends who are crazy helicopter parents, and I'm not even one of those, but I still can't even wrap my head around what it was like then.
No, when I think about it.
I mean, and no cell phones. Reach out and grab your kid.
Well, and
yeah,
because God forbid something. Like we're so lucky. Like we had all that freedom, but like it was different because nobody was recording, right? Nobody could. There was no
That's right. Yeah.
media, social media. There wasn't. We got a lot away with. We got away with a lot. Maybe if we had cell phones and social media back then, our parents wouldn't have been dropping us off.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, you know Pantera Sarah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a club promoter, and she asked me to do she was doing a coffee table book of some of the pictures that she has from like the opium den days and like, you know, all the things. And the only thing I could think about was like, we were so lucky that we got to be young in a time when there, you know, that the cell phone was not a thing. It was like a flip phone. We had flip phones and like a Polaroid camera and like VHS.
Yeah.
Like, you know, or Beta.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so different. I remember carrying a camera that I had that I would like, take pictures on, like had it in my pocket. And at the end of the night, I had lost it. And I was so pissed, you know, and it was like, who carries a camera in their pocket anymore? It's just.
And now I'm sure you are too, but I tell my kids like everything. You cannot put anything on the internet and expect it not to be there forever. So you have to consistently make the right choices, which I don't know. I'm bummed for them.
Well, you know, it's that. And I also say, don't put anything in your mouth. Like, don't take anything from anybody, not even if you think it's an aspirin or, you know, a Xanax, or you take nothing from nobody ever, because that is not even a chance anymore. Like, I think about some of the crazy stuff I've done and I'm like, they wouldn't survive it. It's just such a different time.
Such a different time. And it's weird that it's only like one generation, right?
Yeah.
Like normally that happens, but maybe because, I mean, I had kids older in my life. So maybe that's why it feels like it's only one generation.
Well, I mean, I don't know about if you're older, but it's like,
I was 38 and 41 when I had my kids.
Yeah, I was 26 and 40. But I think technology speeds everything up. I mean, that's
for sure.
That's it. It speeds everything up. And and you just have to be open so much. It used to be about don't get in a stranger's car. Now it's like, you know, don't show your face on social media, you know, use aliases. Like, oh my God, it's a lot.
So wait, how did you two meet? Like, tell me. And then I want to know about the name of your podcast. What does Perfectly Twisted mean? Tell me.
Well, it's just sort of like my sense of humor. I always laugh at the wrong things. It's in me. I can't help it. We're in public, somebody falls, everybody's like, oh my God. And I'm like tears running down my face, crying. And
nervous laughter. Yeah.
It is sometimes, but I also just truly find strange things funny. I really truly do. I'll watch videos on loop of people falling and hurting themselves. I just have that off sense of humor, and then everybody else will be laughing at something, and I'm like, I don't get it. So that's where that came from. But Dave, please tell Alyssa how you and I know each other.
All right, so Alyssa, just so you know, when you two were talking about sleepovers and going to the beach, I'm around the same age as both of you. But I would have lost my mind if I saw Sam and Marcy at the beach. I would have gone, what the hell? This is the greatest day ever. You know, this would have been awesome. And so I've always been a TV fan. And that's the first time I saw Nicole was on your show. And so, of course, I watch Who's the Boss like everybody else. But I was, at the time your show started, I was living in Nashville, Tennessee. I moved to Los Angeles for high school. And I started watching Charles in Charge. And I was like, I'm going to ask that girl out. And I used to go to Charles in Charge tapings, and I would ask Nicole out.
Oh,
and everyone in my high school
everyone
in my high school would goof on me. It was just a running joke, like, how did it go? You know, and of course it never went anywhere. And so later on, I got into radio and TV and did radio and TV for a long time. And it became a running joke on the show that my listeners used to call me a stalker when I would tell the story. And I was like, I'm not a stalker. What the hell? And then it was nuts when people start counting up the amount of shows I went to. And Nicole was always great. And then she came on as a guest, and we became good friends. And so we discussed the idea of doing this show and different ideas. And she did. She came up with the name of the show, and kind of here we are. I will say this, Alyssa, because I want Nicole to talk as much as she can, because I love the fact that you two are catching up right here on the show.
You're going to ask about the Chargers. Are you going to ask about the Chargers right now? Okay.
I'm asking about the Dodgers because I'm a diehard Dodger fan. Okay, and I love the fact you're a Dodger fan. Also, politically, I'm a huge fan of what you do. So as a person, I'm extremely a huge fan of what you do, and I follow what you do. So it's a pleasure to have you here today.
That's very sweet. Thank you very, very much for all of that. Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers and democracy.
Charger. But I mean, seriously, people don't understand, like, when you speak out against things, the amount of, like,
it's crazy, huh?
It's insane that people all of a sudden become inhumane, and whether you believe
it's vitriol. It's so wild. But I have to say, like, because it's so outrageous, I think it's easier for me not to take it personally, because it feels so. And maybe that's just the way I've been able to put it in my being, you know. I just choose to think that, like, maybe they're in some sort of troll farm somewhere, and they all, you know, working off the same talking points, and like their mission is just to try to take me down, because I just don't want to believe that there are people that are that mean in the world.
You know, I know I go back and forth with it too, because obviously I get it, not on the same level. That's why I say, if you've ever been on the receiving end of it, to understand that Alyssa continuously puts herself out there and just keeps going and keeps taking the hits and doesn't flinch. And part of me is like, these are just nasty people that are miserable with themselves sitting on a keyboard, and they have multiple accounts. They don't just have one, they have multiple.
Right.
And I agree with you that I'm like, that's just such a strange mentality. I feel it's a little uneducated to, if I'm just ignorant, to just lash out. But then I also get scared, because I'm like, there's so many of them. There's so many of them, and they're like, they're walking amongst us. You know, it's like.
But Nicole, I have never, and I do these, I do the cons now, and I've never in person, and also in all of my political travels, throughout the country, because I drive people to the polls on election days and do all those things. I've never in person had someone be that aggressive, even at, like, I did a counter protest at the NRA convention a few years ago in Texas, and guy comes over to me. It's open carry state. Comes over to me with the AR-15 slung behind his back, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is the moment. This is the moment that I have been so fearful of forever. And, with the security started surrounding us, and I was like, let's just everybody back up. And I listened to what he said, and I looked at him right in the eye, and I was like, so we're a 2-gun household. And literally you could see his, like, steam coming out of it, because he just didn't expect me to be a gun owner. And I think that the point was for me to have the hard conversations, and to, like, just allow yourself to be uncomfortable and meet people where they are is super important. When it gets unproductive, are these keyboard warriors who are just, and I don't think that they're sincere in it. Like, the guy that came over to me at the NRA convention, clearly sincere in it. Like, he came over to have a conversation, to kill me or to have a conversation. And one of the two. And I can deal with that so much easier, even though it may be scarier than the people, because I know that that's coming from a place that we can just disagree and have different ideals, and that's okay. And let's try to figure out, like, what we both agree on, right? That's always my thing, and always to, like, I always want to meet people where they are, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, the common ground, because everybody has it somewhere. You have to find it, and not everybody's willing to do that. A lot of people just feel so much they're happier in that angry place.
And they're also that we're out of practice because we don't have face-to-face conversations anymore.
Yep.
So we're not good at it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like if anyone has something uncomfortable to say to someone, how do they say it? They text it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're friends for 30 years. If you're pissed off about something, people will more likely text it than pick up the phone and have a real conversation. And I think it's a practice. Like we got to practice this. And if we're not practicing it, then the only people who are practicing it are politicians who go to school to debate and a lot of them are bought off by on both sides are bought off by special interest groups.
Sure.
So if they're the only ones who are practicing it,
Right.
what does that mean for us? So I don't know. I just very hard, but I just want to meet people where they are. That's
as human beings, what has surprised me most over the last 10 years is just the lack of compassion. Is that people can't put themselves in other people's shoes, and just the lack of compassion for other human beings has blown me away. Shocked me.
Do you think that has something to do with Nicole? Do you remember when Tony used to do the social studies on Thursdays where he'd take out the paper on the set? Tony Danza used to every Thursday take out the New York Times and go through the New York Times, every single section, and read out something that he thought Danny and I should know, or whoever should know about as kids. Okay. And this was a time, do you remember like if you were watching TV and there were commercials about the children in Ethiopia during the famine in Ethiopia? That shit doesn't exist anymore, where we're turning on the TV and we're being educated about what's going on in it's all 24-hour news cycles, right? So, and nobody reads a newspaper anymore, and all of the news is filtered into our own algorithm. And so I think that what you're saying, Dave, about the lack of compassion and empathy is because we're not taught about what the human suffering looks like anymore. And I think that this is why what's coming out of Gaza is so hard for some people, is because this is the first time people are actually seeing what devastation looks like.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And again, maybe we could figure out a way to make social media be a tool for good. Right now it feels mostly hurtful and
really hurtful,
and impedes our growth as our evolution as compassionate, empathetic people.
To add to what you just said too, is you said, because people are seeing it for the first time. But I also find it really interesting with human nature that people think they have to choose a side. So like immediately, right, when there's an argument, a dispute, when there's this and that, people feel like, and it goes back to that common ground thing too. Nobody looks for that. Everybody's like, I'm on this side or I'm on that side. It's with politics, wars, everything. And it's like, there's no resolve. But
also everything has nuance and everything has gray areas, and it's not, things are not
black and white.
Yeah. Also, they're not perfectly tied up in a soundbite.
Yeah.
Like, especially the things that are so complex, right? Like you can't wrap it up in a tweet and be like, this is going to solve everything. Yeah. And I think, that that's part of the issue with social media is that and what's great about podcasts, and thank you for talking about this, is I think, the great thing about podcasts is it allows for a little bit more breath, a little bit more sincerity, a little bit more heartfelt dialogue that social media just doesn't allow for maybe it will someday. Like, I like to think it, imagine the tool that would be. But
right. Until those worlds collide, though, it's, it's like what people want you to see about them, and then, who they really are and what's really going on. Yeah, you're right. It is very different. And yet we're looking at the same devices, doing this through the same devices and using the same devices, but looking at two totally different worlds, really.
And it's great that like we can have a platform without needing someone's permission, right?
Yes.
Like you can turn on your podcast and talk about the things you want to talk about. You're not at the whims of someone giving you the opportunity to present yourself in a way. You get to control that. And that, I think, is the biggest change in our business since you and I first started, was, that we get to control the narrative to our lives, which was not the case when we were young.
You're right. And we've talked about that on this show before. And it's funny, when we first started, I said to him, well, like, I'm so afraid to say something that's going to be, mistaken, or when I kept talking about editing, and he's like, I think once you like try this and you get the hang of it, you'll realize we're probably not going to edit anything. You're just going to do it. And I was like, how could that be? But he's right. It just, when you're just being yourself and you're just talking to people, asking real questions and having real conversation, we hardly ever edit unless there's, some sort of technical difficulty. And yeah, it's
well,
great.
And I think that that's what people want to see, right? They want to see the conversation, the real conversation,
uncensored. Yeah. And yeah,
just the organic nature of it, like where things lead you to. I think people really just miss human contact. I think it's like, I don't know, I would have hoped after the pandemic that we would have quickly figured out that like what we needed to figure out, but I don't think we have. And I think in a lot of ways people got really almost more settled into this world of technology, where they're more comfortable wearing their pajama bottoms and just looking. Are you in pajama bottoms, you two?
No, I'm
wearing
laughing.
Sweatpants.
I
am. No, I'm laughing you say that because I see so many kids who I'm a high school baseball coach also, but I see so many kids who just go to school in pajama bottoms.
Yeah, same. My kids' school too. Yeah, they're all in pajamas.
That's
one thing you just said. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's the fashion.
I know, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them for a second.
Yeah, me either.
One of the things you just said, Alyssa, that makes that touches with me is after the pandemic and we shut down, and then I got back together with kids in high school. I had 16 kids on my baseball team, and half of them attempted suicide the very next year after the pandemic. And I think honestly, no. Thank goodness none of them succeeded.
Oh my God.
But it's a different kid. All of a sudden, it's a different kid since the pandemic, and it hasn't bounced back to what it was before 2020. Ugh. And you're just every single day you're realizing you're dealing with a different kid. But I think a lot of it, as you said, with whether it's the phone or the iPads or whatever else, that just the human contact, that we have different kids now.
I think it's that. And I also think we've rewired their brains to respond to the dopamine fix of scrolling. Because every time you scroll, there's, your brain is sending out a dopamine. Like there was a study, I think it was released last week or the week before, that said an hour of scrolling on social media is the equivalent of doing 3 shots of alcohol as far as the dopamine flash. Wow. So if a kid is 12, 13 years old and they just are getting that dopamine fix, I don't know how, that's a chemical imbalance that I don't know that we've even thought about how we're going to fix. And then girls' brains are totally different because of the hormones.
Right. Oh God, it's so interesting that you say that too, because literally this morning, and my kids are usually pretty good about it. They're on their devices a lot. I'm not gonna lie, but they also get, she got a B+ for the first time ever and was having a fit about it. She's so upset. And I was like, oh, good Lord. But she takes care of stuff in life. But she had a big day at school today. They've got 2 cheer performances. It's picture day, it's PE, it's everything. And last night I kept saying to her, get everything ready, get everything ready.
Yep.
Well, guess what? This morning, guess what? Everything wasn't ready.
Right.
And we're leaving, and I said, do you need the cheer bow? She goes, no, we're not wearing it. We start driving. Oh, wait, we are wearing it. We come back. I get the cheer bow. We go. She runs into school. What's sitting on the floor in my car? The goddamn cheer bow. And I'm like, I text her. I said, your cheer bow is in the, I had to go braless in my pajamas into the office. Your goddamn bow is in the office. And I said, and we are having a long talk when you get home. And, I said to myself as I was driving home, I said, there's going to be no screen time until everything is planned and ready for the next day. And then
it's hard though. It's hard because it is, and I'm totally guilty of this. It is easier for me to give Bella, who's 9, her iPad for an hour while I'm doing other stuff around the house than it is for me to figure out like how to keep her from the iPad. So like it's and also there's like an element, and maybe this is me just justifying my mothering, but there's an element for me that's like you have to learn moderation and how to take care of yourself and how to police your own use of technology.
Yes.
Because and maybe that's a lot like when we were young and our parents would be like, yeah, you could have a beer at the house, or if you're going to drink, make sure your friends are doing it here, so that you learn moderation, so that when you left and you were out in the real world, you were able to know what your limit is. Like, I'm wondering if we need to apply the same things for technology, where it's like,
well, that allowing was my thought process this morning. Right. I was like, this is not, I forgot. This was disorganization. This was blatant disorganization, and her priorities were in the wrong place. And that to me is like red flag. I'm like, that's where I'm drawing the line. So
what are you going to do?
And it's like, fine, I get it. They want to play on the device. She doesn't watch TV. And when I was a kid, I watched TV all the time. She doesn't. She listens to music and she goes on her device. That's their new normal. I'm fine with it. But everything else has to get done in life, like you just said.
So are you gonna set those rules where she has to?
Yes, I'm gonna set it that everything has to be done, ready to go for tomorrow for the device. If for some reason it isn't, and there's all this forgetting, then the device is taken away for the next day. Then there'll be no device.
I think that's smart.
Nothing dramatic, like you don't get your iPad for a week or a month or anything. But no, that day, then if you forgot it and you didn't prepare the night before, you went to work, school, you went unprepared, then you don't get your device tonight. You lose your privilege.
The other study that I just read that I think is terrifying was about girls and anxiety, because I have really bad anxiety. I have my whole life, but they're finding young girls have bad anxiety now, like, at a very, very young age. And they think, and I think this is probably dead on. They think what's going on is like when we were growing up, even in our young 20s, early 20s, right? We would walk through a parking lot with our keys in our hands, right? Like, no place was safe if we were out in public and alone. Like, that's just how women grew up, Dave.
Yeah.
Right. So our keys would be in our hands if we were walking through a parking lot by ourselves, but we were able to be home and in a safe space. Now, because of social media, young girls are never in a safe space.
Exactly.
So the fight or flight that they feel when they're walking through a parking lot by themselves, their guard can never be let down because, there are predators in their DMs now.
Yeah.
So there's no safe place from predators, even in your own home. So this fight or flight that women feel it's never just be going away. We're constantly in a state of high alert. which I think is so interesting.
Yeah. It is. Have you watched Heal, the documentary Heal on Amazon? It's a great watch. It's a great watch. And they touch on this about not necessarily the context you had it, but how when you're always in flight, you are constantly putting your body through stress. And this is what creates disease and disorders and autoimmune issues and stuff. And they touch on it. I'm actually going to see a shaman on Monday. I no joke. I had to watch the documentary again yesterday because I was having a bad day. And I was like, it's so uplifting and touches on so many scientific facts of like mind body healing and how, technology and everything affects us. And I had to watch it again. And then I was like, I have to do this because I know that you can think positive thoughts and say, I'm going to be positive. But they even can test where you can some people get to a point of relaxation and then they go into healing mode. Some people will get into a point of relaxation and then go right back up again. And they never heal. And I'm like, what if that's, I can't, I have to make sure I'm really, truly getting to a place
where you can heal.
Yeah, where you can let your body heal. Because
so what is the shaman doing? Are you doing are you doing a journey session?
I guess so. And some sound bathing and some Reiki, and it's like a 2-hour thing. And so I'm really excited because I don't know if he's the one, but it's my first step. My chemo came in, it arrives today. So I have had a lot of panic. I've been very positive through all of it.
Is it a pill?
No, it's a two different injection, it's like the deal. And so I've been having this like not so positive, and I'm like, I just can't allow that. But like you're talking about that flight or flight, that adrenaline's going, and it's a loop, and it's really not easy to get out of. Even when you're aware of it, it's not easy to get out of.
The way it was explained to me, because I have the anxiety loop, was that like, and this makes a lot of sense. Like if you're skiing and you're on a mountain and people's skis make those divots in the snow, like even if you're trying to avoid those, your skis are going to be drawn to those divots. And it's the same thing with thoughts. So thoughts will be drawn to the pathways that have already been carved out. So if that is like, negative thought loop and anxious thought loop, whatever it is that your brain is comfortable going to, that's where you're going to go. You're going to keep going there. And that was my thing for a really long time. I did a journey session actually with an amazing guy that we did a psychedelic journey session to get through those, to carve out new neural pathways.
Oh, I love that.
And my, knock on wood, my anxiety has been much better. But I have autoimmune shit. I have all sorts of,
you should watch Heal. I highly recommend it because that's another thing too. It says when this part of you is like panicky, it sends panicky signals to the brain, right? And then the brain triggers panicky signals through the rest of the body. When you're sending soothe vibrations into the brain, it's all very like real energy science.
I'm going to watch it. Did you say Amazon?
Yeah, on Amazon Prime. Okay. Because it's like they're real doctors. A lot of them were in the pharmaceutical industry. They're not wackos. It's like stuff is real. I mean, holistic stuff needs to be fall under insurance at some point. It's
if you're lucky enough to keep your insurance.
If you're lucky enough to even ever have insurance,
did you see
all of it?
Did you see? I think who was it? Someone an actress who had been, in the business forever, and she's older. I don't remember who it was, but she just said that she was kicked off her SAG health insurance because residuals don't count anymore as part of your hours to get health insurance. Wow. So she's a senior citizen now. She's like, I'm a senior citizen. I think it was Ellen Barkin.
Oh, I know. I know what you're talking about. It was somebody like that. But then other people started speaking up too, because they said, well, we spent all this time on the picket line and they weren't able to pay their dues.
Right.
And a lot of people lost their insurance.
But like, we've been in the union since we were kids. There is no reason we should ever lose. We paid in a lot. We should be set for life. Like there's no way. And you got to think Ellen Barkin.
Yeah,
paid it. She paid for the health insurance.
Yes, I know. It's just wild. I mean, that's a whole other topic that health insurance costs, in this country. It's just,
it's a lot.
It's all a lot. I know. I sit there sometimes and I'm like, why didn't I give birth here and then immediately jump on a plane to Europe, Spain, somewhere? Why am I not raising her somewhere on the Amalfi Coast? Like, what am I doing?
How old is she now?
Well, my youngest is 12.
My son's 12.
12. So, it's that age you can't really take them away from their peers. I mean, they're in their groove,
No, 12 is really interesting to me. It is a very transitional 12-year-old boy who's
wait a year.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait till between middle school and high school. That is with the boys.
I mean, the funniest thing his baseball coach actually said, because he plays travel ball, Dave, and this is the year that they go to Cooperstown. It's like a big deal, and my son is he's a really athletic kid, but he's got like just this bleeding heart, like the kid's probably going to join the Peace Corps. That's probably what he's going to do. But he's very talented. And he got pissed off about something at practice. I almost called it rehearsal. At practice the other day. And I was sitting next to his coach. And he just looked at me really dryly. And he goes, this age, that testosterone, it's a slow drip. It's a slow drip.
It is.
And I was like, I can't wait for it not to be a slow drip, because he's so sensitive about everything. He's like, yeah, it's just a slow drip. It's just every once in a while it'll come out and then it goes back. It's a slow drip.
I'm gonna give you the best advice I can give you for a boy. All right.
Okay.
I had two boys. In the next few years, there's going to be a point where he's just going to think everybody's dumb and he's going to be angry at everybody. And you got to point out to him as quick as you can that the whole world didn't become dumb overnight. You're the person who changed. They believe it's the whole world that changed.
I like that.
And with both my boys, it lasted maybe 2 or 3 days, where other friends of mine, with their kids, it lasted 5 years. And as soon as you point out it's you that needs to take a step back, it's not the world that just changed and everyone else is stupid and doesn't know what they're doing. It's you that has changed. It's your testosterone that's gone out of control.
I like that. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. Any advice? I'll take any advice at this point. It's interesting because, I have a girl and a boy, and to raise both, it's so different. It's so different. But I'm also able to teach them both lessons through parenting the boy and the girl. Like, I'm teaching her lessons about boys while I'm parenting him, and teaching him lessons about girls while I'm parenting her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And you have to be really thoughtful about what you say.
Yeah.
Because, because I don't, there are moments where I'm like, Milo, you're a fucking idiot, man. Just what are you talking? Pick up. Why is your cup in my car? Like, I have cups everywhere, dude. Like, yeah. That's funny. And so I have to be careful saying things like that in front of Bella, because I don't want her to,
imitate,
or just think all boys are idiots.
Yeah.
That is too funny. Alyssa, I do have a question for you. Just curious, because as I said, you're very brave. You put yourself out there, and let's be honest, you don't have to. You're at a point in your life you don't have to do this, but you decide you want to make the world a better place. Is there any part of you where you're fearful at all? I mean, you mentioned the part about going to Texas. I mean, my oldest son says to me all the time, Dad, sometimes you push it a little bit too much. Like my son's literally afraid that his dad's going to get hurt or shot. Something bad's going to happen. Does your family ever step in and go, hey, you know what? Enough's enough?
I mean, again, I sort of look at all of it as opportunities for lessons for the kids. I've been able to teach them great lessons about bullying through online bullying, through the way I'm trolled. My husband won't let me run for office. There was a moment where I was sort of deciding whether that was going to be in my future. And, you know, he was just like, I'm concerned. I'm concerned for your life. I'm concerned for the kids. So I don't know necessarily that I would ever allow it to keep me from using my voice to try to do good, especially now when it's needed more than ever. But it has enabled for a lot of really interesting conversations to happen. You know, my son goes to a Catholic school, and I had to explain to him why he can't go to the March for Life march.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like, he's like, but I would get 6 service hours because I have to do community service. I was like, you can't go to the March for Life. You cannot, you can't go.
Yeah.
You know, like, and those are conversations that I wasn't planning on having with my 12-year-old, but I felt like, you know, I had to, because he goes there, he sees the thing, and then goes on to my, you know, sees posters, and then goes on to my social media and sees someone call me a baby killer, which happens to be one of the trolls' favorite terms of endearment for me. You know, and then what? That's a harder conversation, I think, if I don't have the conversation. So, you know, and I'm also very conscious of like trying to teach them about like, not how is school today, but who did you help today? Who did you sit with? Was there anyone who was sat, you know? And I think that I do that because I want them to be more understanding about how I put myself out there.
I like that.
Because otherwise,
you know, but I gotta say, like, for you speaking out, people, I was able to speak about my abuse, and it was funny because they were like, "Oh, why are you choosing to speak out now?" It's like, no, I had been talking about it. It's just nobody was listening and nobody cared. And it was more like, "Oh yeah, whatever, shut up." You know, "Oh yeah, sure. You're lucky." You know, it's kind of all that disgusting stuff. And it was like, I didn't even mean to speak out. I said something. I clapped back in a moment with his wife, in just a moment, which had been happening years and nobody gave a shit. And I said one comment, and you know, poof, it was like, here's the story. And I was like, wait, I'm not ready for this. But I went through a healing process because I no longer had to lie about it. I no longer had to hide or be embarrassed about it. And, you know, I got to really like flush through, and, you know, and my girls saw it, and they got to, you know, it kind of reiterated what I always told them about never letting anybody do anything uncomfortable. You tell immediately, you know, all these like conversations you have to have with young girls way too early. But you know, you opening that gave me a path of healing, and for so many people. And so, you know, whenever you stop and you feel like, what am I, you know, if you ever do that, you just have to remember, like, so many people are able to heal, not just be heard, and not just, it's the healing part of it, to me, that's really the part that people don't get.
Well, and also that was me too, because because I hadn't healed. Like, I put something out there, and then I feel very blessed that I'm able to be that for so many women throughout the world, and that's like, what a gift.
Yeah.
However, you know, I'm in the airport quite often, and someone will come over to me, and I'll be with my kids, and they'll tell me their Me Too story. And I'll be like, I am not prepared to have this conversation. So I've had to learn not only to heal my own stuff, but also a very valuable lesson in empathy, which we talked about before, which is you can be empathetic and not carry everyone's pain. That's a really hard thing to learn when you're an activist. That is like, because you think you do have to carry the pain.
Right.
You think that's what is going to make you effective. And look, we're actors. We carry pain. Like that's how we're able to translate feelings on screen, right? And so I think for me, I was holding on to a lot of pain so that when the cameras were rolling, I was able to emote and express sadness. And it wasn't until, you know, the Me Too tweet where I was like, oh, first I have to deal with my shit. Second of all, once I deal with my shit, I can still be an artist. Because that was really scary, to like the idea of letting go of my pain and not being able to translate pain. But also, how do I keep my wholeness, but also care for humanity when so much of humanity is so fucked up? And it took, I mean, it's taken me a good 7 years to, and I'm not, it's a practice. I'm not completely there totally, but I've recognized some things about myself and my own journey that needs to happen. And it would have never, I don't know where I would have been had I not, and to see the strength in like your story and, you know, all of the silence breakers and all the women who have, and men who have said Me Too, like, I feel like there was such strength in that, in the numbers during that swell. And we all were able to sort of lift each other up and carry, like, you know, like waves, just carry each other through it. But then we were all left with like a hole that we had to fix. At least I was. I don't want to speak for you, but I was definitely like, okay, this is great, but I need the only way out for me is in. And I had to go in. And that's when I had my journey session and like really just tried to get a grip.
Yeah. And listen, this is not easy. It's like to speak for so many. It's like it is hard to do just for yourself. I mean, just to be my own person and trying to deal with my own life and figure it all out. It's like, you know, oh my God, this is like, I can't do this alone. This is crazy. And I've always worked on myself, or at least tried. I've always tried to be better and everything, but I don't think I've ever been slapped in the face as hard as when I got my diagnosis, that something is telling me something even more dramatic, you know? And I always had this feeling in my life, like there's got to be more, like there's got to be something else. I always felt like that. And I was like, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is, that I think that there's more. So I feel like for some reason I'm meant to go on some deep spiritual journey outside of myself with help, with healers.
Listen, it may not be clear yet the why of it all, but it will. At some point you'll go, oh, this is why.
Yeah.
This is why.
Yeah.
And I think that's life. It's not that it makes it any easier, but you are, first of all, so blessed to be raising 2 daughters. My mom, who sends her love, she always said that only very special women get to raise women. So, and I think that that's true, and you get to do that. And I also think that when you raise women and you're a woman, you have, at least me and my friends, there is an element of like raising yourself while you're raising these kids.
Yes.
Like you're healing yourself while raising daughters. Yes. I don't know if it's the same for dudes. Like if you're healing yourself while you're raising your sons. But I do know when I look at my daughter at 9 years old, when I started acting and I make choices with her, that I'm healing the little girl, or I am for her what I needed then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did the same thing with my boys, you know, but
yeah.
I won't put dads in the same category as moms. I always say, you know, moms and dogs are the only things that will on the planet that will put themselves in front of another human being. Otherwise, everyone else will take a step back. Moms are really special.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think, and it's funny because my girls are so separate in age, so just distance in age. It's like, yeah, I had a lot of growing up to do. I really probably shouldn't have had a child as young as I did, but we've stormed it together. We've gone through the storm together, and we curled up last night and watched Heal again when it was a bad, we'd had a bad day, and the younger one is getting the better, smarter, wiser,
yes,
more grown version of myself, and
that's the way it's supposed to happen. That's the way it's supposed to happen, and that's evolution, and that's beautiful when it can happen that way. That means you're breaking the cycle of whatever was
breaking it. Because you can talk about wanting to break it, you can think about wanting to break it, but when you watch it happening, you're like, this is it. This is what life is.
And hurt people hurt people, and healed people heal people.
That's
I really believe that.
Yeah, they really do. So let's hope this guy on Monday is really.
I'm excited for you. You have to text me afterwards and tell me everything.
I will, and I would love to get information.
Yes,
for where you've been too, because I'm just kind of beginning that journey, taking that serious.
And when do you start chemo?
Well, it arrives
what do you mean it arrives? Where is it arriving to?
I know the pharmacy company called me and said, they called me last night and said, we want you to know your chemos will be delivered Friday, tomorrow, to your center.
Okay.
So to my doctor's, where I will be treated in his office. So wait for their call for the appointment. So it's that dreaded, every time the phone rings, I'm like, jump, and my heart stops and everything goes numb.
What's your biggest fear about the chemo? That you'll feel sick?
I think my biggest fear of the chemo, because unfortunately I have a couple dear friends going through it, is the points of feeling really weak physically and not being able to do the things that need to be done and taking care of the things that need to be taken care of. And then I'm afraid of it not working.
Do you have a support system around you that you feel like?
I do. Okay. And people really stepped up. It's nice. And I have more than I thought, because, I don't have family, and it's like, people really have stepped up, and you do create this support system. But I really feel like my real support system is going to be in some kind of healer. I feel like I need to go find a guide. I don't know what that is about me right now, but I'm like, that's what I need. So that's kind of my search right now, is finding somebody that's just going to take me on a different ride.
You need to do all the things.
All the things. All the things all the time.
You need to take care of your body, your mind, all the things.
I know. Everything I drink is green and tastes like sour. And it's like I'm doing all the things I can. And nutrition, spiritual, modern medicine, just let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's see.
It's going to be a fight.
It's going to be a fight. And listen, if it's my time, it's my time. I have to surrender. It's the surrender part that gets hard. No.
You don't surrender. You don't surrender.
Yeah. What the hell?
There's no surrender.
Well, no, you surrender to that. You have no control over that it's there. Now you just have to work on clearing it away.
I think the thing, knowing you, that you're going to have the hardest time with is, there are going to be days that you're going to want to stay in bed, or that you're not going to be able to get out of bed. And you're probably going to feel bad about that. Why, and you can't. You're going to have to
give myself that grace.
You're going to have to give yourself that grace.
Yeah.
And if you could look at it like that's an important thing for your daughters to see you do.
Yeah.
Then you're giving them the gift of allowing them those days.
Yes. Which brings me to, you asked me what my biggest fear is too. The worst thing that breaks my heart the most is my girls seeing me not well and them being sad. When I saw their faces, and when they got the news, and when they know what's going on, that hurts me more than for me at all. Whatever. I can go through this. I can do this. You could, I've been through a lot. I can take this on too, but it's seeing their little faces and their little spirits. And when your kid gets hurt, you're like, you think somebody just chopped your arm off, it's like, it hurts so much deeper. So Yes,
I can understand that. I can understand that, but also you need to focus on you. Don't worry about what they're, because this is part of their journey too.
Yeah.
So you can't protect them from it right now.
Nope.
You need to focus on you. And that's a gift that you're giving them, a strong mom who is focusing on your own health, not just for them. So you can be healthy, so you can live the best life, and the life that you deserve to live for a long, long time.
Thank you. And it's interesting how life works out, because my oldest daughter lives in New York. She lives in Brooklyn. So she had lost her job recently. The company went under and she was so upset, and she had such a great job and such a great time, blah, blah, blah. She couldn't find work. So this came up and we were like, come home. So she was ready to come home for a couple months. The house was just going to run like normal. And she got a job like right before. And she calls me bawling. And I said, no, you take that job and you get out of the house and you get back on track and you get your career going again and you have a blast. And it's interesting because the oldest one is much more quiet, introvert, sensitive, will be sad to see me sick and won't say much about it. Whereas the younger one is more like, do you feel sad? Let me give you a hug. Can I go get something for you? Can I do something for you? But my oldest won't, she'll do it if you ask, but she's more introvert. And, so it's funny that it worked out like that, because I think,
well, there is a perfect system.
It did.
Give her perfect system.
Yep. So just day by day, because every time you think you got it figured out, and every time you think you have a plan, it makes that U-turn.
Please keep me posted. Let me know if I can help in any way.
Oh, you're the best. And thank you so much. I mean, just really honestly, thank you for joining us, and thank you for everything that you do, because you need to be thanked more often. And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's the truth. You remember that.
And Dave, you keep just dealing with the slow drip of testosterone.
I'm doing the best I can at this point in my life. Holding on to everything I can.
Take care of Nicole. That's your job.
Absolutely. Pleasure meeting you, Alyssa. This is
nice to meet you too. I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye. See you later. Bye.
That was really cool.
Well, she's great. And it's whether you agree with somebody's views or not, you can see, like, people are made up of so many colors and so many things. And it just pisses me off when people judge people on one aspect. And it's like, you can agree or disagree with somebody's views, but you cannot deny that she's a badass.
She's a passionate, and she puts herself out there. And again, as I was kind of trying to point out,
mom, like, how does she have all the time? I want to know, how does she
do it all? How does she seem to run a perfect life?
Alyssa, come back. How do you do it all? Yeah.
Puts us all to shame. I have no idea. Yeah, she makes us all look bad. No, she's outstanding. She's outstanding at what she does. I give her a lot of credit. Again, very brave to do what she does. A couple things want to ask you, because I know we've gone a little bit long, but I got to ask you, did you watch the Salt Lake City reunion? Did you finish it?
I did. Okay.
It was, to me, Nicole, it seemed like the most upset Andy's ever been, because he was included in basically going after his show, his empire. And boy, I kind of liked it that he got a little upset.
Well, it's funny, because this Monica really kind of could have flipped this into being a villain.
Yep.
But she was so bad at that reunion, and had, like, when she tried to say the FBI like recruited her to do these, she just sounded so unintelligent and so deer caught in headlights, and so she was in over her head, and she couldn't. If she would have been able to stand up to those women, or had some humility, or apologized, or I don't know, she could have done anything else other than what she did. Anything else, please, dear God. She handled it so poorly. That it just was like, what are we watching? And then I said to my daughter, well, find that video, because there was a video leaked about with her and her mom fighting, and her and her mom were in cahoots about this whole thing. And we're watching it, and then we're looking, and we're like, this isn't even good crazy. We're like, these are disturbed individuals. Good way.
Yeah.
Like, didn't watch the whole video. No, good to see her go. She's got to go. She's a liability. in
Yeah,
so many ways into herself.
absolutely. No,
Physically,
there's
mentally. Yeah.
so many times I watch these reunions where I get upset that I don't think Andy pushes the envelope far enough. He was waiting to the end to go, I got a lot to say. Now I'm upset. And I love the fact that he brought in Heather and about you accused our staff of this and that, and then could have been a
Yeah.
producer that punched you in the face. And I mean, all that stuff that he was like, I'm not letting any of this go. Worked way too
Why
hard
would she
for
ever
you to
say
sit on the
that? Why
couch.
would she ever say it could have been a producer? Like, thought she was smarter than
Ridiculous.
that. Yeah,
No, it was
bad, bad. I think
terrible.
she's redeemed herself with him, but hoo-hoo, that's
Yeah,
not, those are fighting words. That's not okay. You don't accuse
no.
people. No,
I'm
that's
glad it was brought up because I've been upset about that for a year. For a year, I've been going, damn it. How come this is not pushed further of what the truth is on this?
but what kills me is that no one really knows what happened. Like they think
Yeah.
like Jen and they were so drunk and so blackout that they think when when you're at that place and you've been drinking and you kind of have flashes of things that might have happened. I don't know if you've ever been that drunk. Have you?
I have.
Okay. I think we all have. I think they're having flashes and they don't have a clear story. They don't have a clear story of what
Yeah.
the hell went on. I'm convinced of it, and they don't know what to say. And I just, the whole thing is so ridiculous. And I don't know why they didn't just come clean from that in the beginning and just said, I don't know, we were shit faced and I woke up like this, and it would have gone away, right? Like,
Exactly right. The
I
quicker you
mean,
apologize, the easier it is to get over it. But people don't want to
yeah.
apologize. It's true. You're absolutely right.
And she didn't
Oh my
even have to
gosh.
apologize to anybody. She didn't have to apologize. She just had to say, I was shit faced drunk and I woke up like this. Never doing that again. I mean, but
Exactly.
instead it was this
And
big thing.
interesting the way it goes. Anyway, we'll get back to the mailbag on the next show. We have a ton of people that have been nice enough to submit. So look, if you want to get involved in the show and you want to submit questions, again, it's Nicole's mailbag. Right there, perfectlytwistedpod.com. And I'm sure like me, the rest of the audience, Nicole, we wish you all the best. We know this is a fight, and you scared both of us when you said the word surrender, but that's not what you meant when you were using it. We thought you were saying you're giving up, and we both panicked when you said that, but that's not what you were saying.
No, because surrender, because I'm literally that person where I'm like, well, it's right there and I can feel it. What if I just cut it open, pull it out? You know what I mean? It's like I have to surrender that I don't have control over what I have control to a certain extent. Yeah, that's that's a very cloudy word I used. I'm not going to use that word anymore. I am not going to use that word anymore.
You're a fighter.
Another lesson for today. Yep.
100%.
Not a good word. Okay.
You're a fighter. That was a lot of fun, Nicole.
Yes, it was a great show. And hopefully I'll see you guys next week. I think I'll keep, I'm going to update with little video clips, if nothing else, so that let you guys know how it's going, how I'm feeling. But my intention is to keep rocking and rolling with this because it's an escapism for me, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy the questions and the thought process it puts me through, and it's true escapism for me. So thank you guys, and I will see you soon.